Brian, of course, wrote that song. And somehow, every month, every week, he tends to come up with just the right song for the talk. The title is Embracing Divine Ideas. One of those divine ideas is love. And that's what we dedicated the first meditation to. And then he comes along and just reinforces it. Embracing divine ideas. Today I'm going to do something that's very abstract, very heady, and in the end I'm going to try to make it very practical and very experiential. Okay? In Unity, for over 100 years, we've said, as a child of God, your inheritance from God is divine ideas. I got to tell you, the first time I heard that, I was deeply disappointed. My inheritance is ideas? No. I want stuff I can touch. I want things in my life. But in the end, this is the old story of do you give a man a fish or do you teach a man to fish? Teach a man to fish and he has fish for the rest of his life. Do you give a person one experience of love? Or do you give him the very basic creative energy that will always draw love into their lives? You see, the idea of the divine idea is that these ideas, and they are ideas of goodness, because God's all about goodness. The rest of it we do ourselves, okay? But goodness, that which feels wonderful. Well, there is on the spiritual level. See, your inheritance as a child of God. As a child of God, you're not that body. You are a spiritual being, and your inheritance is a spiritual inheritance. Does that mean you can't have physical things in your life? Absolutely not. If you have the source, examples continually flow. And so this idea of divine ideas is that an idea of goodness is one of the building blocks. Each one of them is one of the building blocks of your soul. And the gift that your soul has to this outer life is to allow the energy of that divine idea. And don't think that an idea is something that stays in your mind as an intellectual concept. That's just a little container. The real power of a divine idea is that each one has an energy. There is an energy to divine love. There is an energy to abundance. Remember those qualities that we put on the white stone when we did the white stone ceremony, end of August? You know, for those who weren't here, we get our sacred stones that I get at the Sacred Home Depot store. And then we write one word on them, right? One quality that you would truly like to immerse your life in from August until the end of the year, to try to, what do you want more of in your life? Is it harmony? Is it healing life? Is it abundance, prosperity, success? What is it? Sometimes you get two words. Is it soul awakening? What is it? And basically what we're asking you to do is to choose a divine idea. The divine idea is the archetype behind all kinds of expression of goodness in that territory. Okay? Now, when we go to archetypes, I always go back to something I enjoyed about 40 years ago. The Finhorn. right? Findhorn, where they're growing gardens, and here they are in this little stretch of windswept Scotland territory that grows almost nothing. And they have managed, as a little trailer park community, they all got together, but they were a community, and they started praying over their plants and doing everything according to guidance, et cetera, et cetera. And before they're done, they are raising, 40-pound broccoli plants, 60-pound cabbages, 12-foot delphiniums, and roses that bloomed in the snow. Okay, they're doing all kinds of stuff that most gardeners cannot accomplish. And when you ask them how they do it, they'll tell you, we're working spiritually with the plants. Now, as you read through, and get this, if you wanted to grow peas, you meditated and worked with the pea diva. You're allowed to laugh, I did. Okay, we're going to go for the pea diva. The idea of the perfect pea. But the interesting thing is, they would work with the archetypes behind the plants, and the plants would respond. How intriguing. Now, that's the best analogy I can come up with what we are being asked to do when we say embrace divine ideas. I want someone to love me. Okay. Embrace the divine idea of love. Let love so fill your life that you feel the fullness of it, not the lack of it. Let it so fill you, so unleashed from your soul into your consciousness, that you sort of obsess on this quality, and it fills you until that idea fills your being, your thought, your consciousness. It's all around. And you say, wait a second. I said I wanted someone. That will come. That comes. Once your consciousness is filled with love, an individual expression of love, they come from everywhere. The same is true with abundance. I need more in my life. I need more money, more things, more. I just want to feel like I have opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Abundance is a divine idea. It's one of your spiritual gifts. But it's up to you to let that energy of realizing God's abundance so fill your life that suddenly the physical stuff is starting to flow. So, in the end, a divine idea is the ideal, the archetype behind the goodness you want. And if you can fill your consciousness with that archetype, you have been taught to fish, not given a fish. And the fish will come in from everywhere, all of your life, whether it's abundance, whether it's healing life, perfect life, whether it's love. What have I got? Abundance, perfect life, divine love, divine joy, divine wisdom, divine power, perfect beauty, glory, absolute harmony, the divine quality of success and goodness. All of these are divine ideas. Now, we have ruined a few of them. I mean, love is a prime example of that one. You know, love is a battlefield. I think we could make a song out of that. I guess what I like is divine love is unconditional love, without a doubt. What I love is the way human beings ruin things. Back when unconditional love was maybe one of the most popular terms around, 70s, 80s, I guess the 80s is what I was thinking of. I was in Fort Pierce. But I remember there was a song I heard on the radio, came on, and it was all about, you give me your unconditional love, and then I'll give you my unconditional love. And there's nothing more conditional in the world than what you just said. Divine love is just love. It's just loving. It's the pure stuff. Abundance is the pure realization that God is my source and the gratitude that goes with all of that. Now, in the end, each one of these things that we call a divine idea, if you leave it in your mind, is not terribly powerful. They are the very building blocks, the energy building blocks of your soul. And so in the end, we aren't trying to put anything by affirming a divine idea. We are not trying to put anything in. We are calling something out of our soul, an energy that's already there. We're opening up a channel that it can flow from our soul into our outer consciousness until it floods it. And once it floods it, it creates all kinds of individual outer experiences that reflect that quality. In Romans 8:16-17, Paul writes, we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God. You're due all manner of goodness. It's your inheritance, but it comes on a spiritual level. And we've got to learn to embrace it on that level so as to let it reflect into our outer life. Hebrews 11:3, the things which are seen came to be from those which are not seen. That's the power we're talking about. Your inheritance is on the unseen level. Your inheritance is on the creative end of things. It's that unseen knowledge of how to fish. It's that unseen knowing that God is my source and I live in the midst of abundance, and abundance will come to me wherever I go. It's something that in the end becomes the cause of all those outer things we would pray for. Hey, I want money. Hey, I want a new house. I want a better job. I want this. I want that. I get that. But if you embrace the archetype, the divine idea, or the divine energy of abundance, and so immerse your consciousness in that, that it's just fills you, then life will respond and all kinds of individual things will come to you. In Ecclesiastes 5:19, the writer says, to every man the Lord has given riches and wealth. This is the gift of God. Well, if you want to look around, I'm not sure that's true, right? He's not talking about an outer experience. He's talking about an inner experience which can create an outer experience. Every man has been given riches and wealth. All the good that God has for you is just waiting. But you have to let it immerse your consciousness. You have to accept the gift on that spiritual level so that your whole being's immersed in gratitude for the abundance of God filling my life. And once that happens, the new job, the extra money, the opportunities, they all flow. But it flows from talking to the P-diva. I'm using that as an analogy. Talking to the archetype of abundance. And that archetype, in the end, is an energy. And when that energy is what you're vibrating in, what you're living in, what you're dwelling on day in and day out, that energy will express itself in a multitude of ways in your life. And the things that you pray for, they'll show then. No problem. So, this is how we learn to express our divine inheritance. It's one thing to know it's inside of you. It's another thing to actually use it. And how do you express your divine inheritance? By obsessing daily on the idea of perfect abundance, life, love, joy, beauty, harmony, success, whatever it is you choose, whatever you wrote on that white rock. And if you didn't have a white rock, whatever you choose right now. Obsess on it. Obsess on abundance. Obsess on perfect life. Philippians 4:8, Paul got it really straight. That's why I quote it so often. Whatever is true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report. If there's any virtue and if there's any praise, think about these things. He wants you to think on divine ideas, these divine qualities, these energies of the goodness of God. Now, let me bring it down and make it a little more practical. Unity was based on this, whether we realize it or not. Unity started with Myrtle Fillmore's healing back in the latter 1800s, right? Myrtle Fillmore was diagnosed with terminal tuberculosis, told she'd die in less than 6 months. That day and age, you died of tuberculosis. There was really no treatment for it, except breathing pure air. Okay, that might prolong things for a little while. In any case, everyone in her family had died of tuberculosis. It was just her turn, the family she grew up in. And she and Charles went to this tent meeting with a Dr. Weeks, who was Emma Curtis Hopkins. I think he was one of her teachers. And Charles came out of that meeting and said, wow, that was really inspiring. Those were some great ideas. She came out literally changed. She said she came out with the realization, I'm a child of God. And from God, I inherit perfect life, not this stuff that's killing my body right now. From God, I inherit perfect life. Now, from my parents, I obviously inherit a weakness towards tuberculosis. We all went. From my earthly parents. But from my heavenly Father, I inherit divine life. And she took to obsessing on that realization of God's perfect life within her. Now, she withdrew from normal life for about 2 years, okay? I mean, it was a while. This took a while. But every day, she immersed herself in the realization of God's perfect life, the kind that doesn't get sick, unstoppable life, the kind that's in the soul. Remember, the soul's eternal. It was before you came in, will be after. You may lay this body down, but your soul cannot be killed. That life. And as she immersed herself in this ideal, this divine idea of perfect life, well, I don't know how it happened exactly, but after 2 years, she had a clean bill of health. She was in her early 40s. She lived to her latter 80s, okay? No problem at all. Tuberculosis completely disappeared. But the intriguing thing is, not only did she get her own personal healing, but because she had so immersed herself in this divine idea, it had become a part of her consciousness. Healing life was just a part of who she was. She was so connected to the archetype, divine life, unleashed from the soul into the body, that creates a healing. And she was so immersed in that in the end, people came to her who were also having serious illnesses, and she'd pray with them. And whereas it took her 2 years to get to where she was, yeah, that's an agreement. It took her 2 years. She would pray with people, and they would have instantaneous healings. Because she was there, and when she was with them, they were there. Okay? They would just kind of share consciousness and see what she saw, and healing would take place. So I say, okay, well, that was Myrtle Fillmore. What's intriguing is I came into Unity under a man by the name of Reverend Grover Thornsbury. I don't think he knew me very well. I was a kid. I refused to go to YOU, the youth group, because I wanted to stay in church. I didn't want it watered down, so I wanted the real thing. But my dad became very close with him and went out to ministerial school from there, so they became very close. And he got to know Grover's personal story that he didn't always publish all the time from the pulpit. And the story was Grover became a minister because he had had a healing. You see, he had a very rare disease, and I do not know what it was, but it was rare, so they didn't know how to treat it, but they did know what happened. You get worse every day, and then you die. Okay? That was the prognosis. That's the way this works. And so when he went into the Veterans Hospital, they informed him he would never leave, at least not alive. Now, he's in there, and he's kind of miserable, and he had read just enough Unity to know about this idea of healing, and he decided he was going to tithe his time to concentrating, while he's in the hospital, he's going to tithe his time to meditating on praying and immersing himself in the realization of healing life. Now, I suppose that means 2.4 hours a day, right? It's 6 minutes out of every hour, and you make up for the ones while you're sleeping. In any case, this went on for a couple of months, and he started feeling better. And he started feeling really good. And finally, they put him through a whole battery of tests, and they finally came back and said, the weirdest thing has happened. You seem to have made a complete recovery. There is no sign of this in you, but no one has ever recovered before, so we're not sending you home. We're keeping you another month. They did, and finally they turned him loose. And so he decided he would become a Unity minister, since this had been such an important part of his life. It all came from immersing himself in a divine idea. Not just a few prayers. We're talking really immersing your consciousness in what you want to express in your life. What part of God's goodness? Now, you say, okay, well, that's all about healing. And I say, yes, but Charles Fillmore, Myrtle's husband, the other founder of Unity, yes, he had his healing, and we can talk about how he worked on his healing, but Charles was a businessman, and he decided that part of his inheritance was God as his source in that area too. And so he was one of the first to actually apply this to abundance, healing of finances, not just of bodies. And to know that God was his source, and he immersed himself in the idea that God would provide abundantly for whatever he needed. And of course, we all know that it became the cornerstone of a whole movement that was filled with all kind. There were millions of dollars went into this movement, of which he dedicated it all to God and to the Unity movement and so forth. Okay, so whether it's abundance, healing life, love, harmony, and beauty, What are the qualities of goodness that you would like to see expressed in your life more? Well, today what I want to do is, I said we'd make it very practical. So what I want us to do is to center ourselves on several ideas. We're going to do each for just a few minutes. So we're going to start with abundance. Let's start with God as our source, as abundance. And I'm going to have an affirmation at the beginning of each one. So the affirmations will be on the screens. You can shut your eyes the rest of the time, but you'll probably need to open them for the affirmations and then close them again. What we want to do is to try to saturate our consciousness with the energy of the ideal. Whether that ideal be abundance, life, or beauty and harmony. We've already did a little work with love, so we're going to go through these. Let's try abundance. God is my source, and I live in the midst of abundance in all things. Together. God is my source, and I live in the midst of abundance in all things. If these remain words or intellectual concepts, you have not gone very far. Needs to be, God is my source. There's a feeling to that. And I live in the midst of abundance in all things. There's an energy level, a feeling that goes with that too. It may be subtle, but try to feel what's underneath the words. Let's do it one more time. God is my source, and I live in the midst of abundance in all things. So we close our eyes. Let's feel the energy of the quality. Abundance. Prosperity. Plenty. True wealth. These are all words that describe one of your spiritual gifts, an energy from which all of this flows. Abundance. Prosperity. Plenty. True wealth. Imagine and engage your imagination, and we're going to imagine abundance in your life. Imagine abundance flowing through your life. Now maybe image yourself on the road of life, kind of walking around with all its twists and turns, and knowing that at every turn there's a wonderful surprise, some gift waiting for you around every corner. And feel the energy that comes from knowing that. And just kind of immerse yourself in that energy of abundance, prosperity, what it feels like. Living in the midst of plenty. God is your source. That's what makes it all possible. So contemplate what abundance could look like in your life. Just contemplate what living your life in an awareness of abundance could look like. And feel that pure energy of abundance flowing from your soul. For the gift is the true inheritance of your soul. And the soul can release it into your outer consciousness to flood your being. And when it does, it will be accompanied by gratitude. So feel grateful. Grateful for abundance. Grateful that God is your source. And abundance flows whenever you need it. Feel the gratitude of that energy on a spiritual level. Now we're going to switch gears and think of perfect life. You know, that unstoppable life. The kind that can't be sick and cannot die. That's the life of your soul. Perfect life. The life that Myrtle Fillmore tuned into. God is my source of perfect life. Health and vitality flow from my soul through my body. I am healed and whole. Let's affirm that together. It's on the screens. God is my source of perfect life. Health and vitality flow from my soul through my body. I am healed and whole. Now close your eyes again and feel that energy of perfect life. Life, vitality, energy, well-being. Healing life, unstoppable life. Imagine that life flowing through your body now. Hold that image, see it lighting every cell. Try to feel as you image it. And feel that pure energy of life, health, and well-being pervading your whole body. And contemplate what this life could look like with perfect life flowing from your soul into your outer life, invigorating you. Now feel the gift itself, the pure archetypal energy. Life flowing from your soul into your body. And thank God for life. Feel the gratitude for life. We're going to switch gears one more time and go for the divine idea of beauty and harmony. I am in perfect harmony with everyone and everything, and I live in the midst of God's amazing beauty everywhere. Together, I am in perfect harmony with everyone and everything, and I live in the midst of God's amazing beauty everywhere. Now, as we close our eyes again, we reach for the energies behind the words. Harmony, beauty, glory, the glory of life forever. Harmony, beauty, glory, the glory of life forever. What does it feel like? Engage your imagination and image perfect harmony in your life with everyone and everything. And then imagine yourself seeing with spiritual eyes, seeing God's glory shining through everything. Feel yourself in harmony. Feel the absolute adoration of beauty. See the glory of life. Contemplate what this energy could look like in your life. And feel this pure beauty and harmony flowing from your soul into your body, into your life. And thank God for this wonderful harmony and absolute beauty. Feel gratitude. Thank you, God, for the gifts of abundance, perfect healing life, beauty and harmony. Give us the strength to hold our focus upon these qualities until they fill our lives fully. Thy will be done through each and every one of us. Thy wonderful will for good be fulfilled in our lives. Amen. Obsess on a divine quality till it fills your life. Until you know how to fish. And then you'll have all the fish you ever wanted. Everything else will come to you naturally. If our ushers will come forward, we'll prepare.